What's going on, closers? Welcome to today's podcast, our Yes, I Am a Closer podcast. This is Nick, Dominic Caminata. We have a guest today that we're really excited for. In fact, we saw this individual at a conference down in Fort Lauderdale, part of the BCI conference. There was a motivational speaker that we really hadn't heard of before, but prior to the arrival at the event, the buzz in the room around this guy was incredible. He actually spoke to a group prior to our arrival. And I'm telling you, everybody I bumped into in the hallway prior to this thing starting couldn't stop talking about one thing and one thing only, and that was Waldo. And I'm like, well, who the hell is Waldo, man? And he got up and spoke to the group, and I'm telling you, it was radiating, okay? We have a guest today that is unique and I think really important, because here's the thing. Our methodologies, our training, what we offer is really, really crucial. But if you're not motivated and you don't have the right leadership skills and you don't have the right culture, all that's for naught. So we're really excited to partner with the individual who we feel could be the leader for our industry and really the world in this respect. Mr. Waldo the Wingman Waldman is a decorated fighter pilot, a New York Times best-selling author, one of the most highly sought-after motivational speakers in the world today, and he's here with us. This individual has credibility beyond belief, but you know what he has more than anything? He has genuine authenticity, which is really hard to find. And it's a great individual. We're excited to have him on the show. We want to give him a chance to introduce himself. Thanks for being here with us, Waldo.
You got it, gentlemen. Nick and Dominic, thanks for taking the time to chat today. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too.
Excellent. Well, Waldo, as Nick said, part of the reason that we're excited to have you on this is, like you said, we saw you in Fort Lauderdale, and I was so blown away that back at our retail there in Madison, Wisconsin, it was a no-brainer for us. We invited you in to do a kickoff meeting for our sales team to get them really fired up to get the year started. And the way that you combine your years of experience in combat, and you through 65 real-world combat missions, flying F-16s, and obviously a decorated war hero, a veteran, all that stuff. The way you tie that into sales and culture and leadership and looking out for your fellow wingmen is unlike anything I've ever experienced. So for me, it was a no-brainer. But, for those viewers who maybe don't know who Waldo the Waldman is, obviously you don't know it like we do. Tell us a little bit about kind of your rise to become who you are, and why, in terms of leadership and motivation, that our viewers could stand to take away a great deal. Because, again, we're looking at forging a partnership with you long-term, and you have a ton to offer our viewers. So to give us a brief synopsis as to the real Waldo the Wingman Waldman.
And I appreciate it. And that the inner wingman, who you are as a person, is what really counts. I'm a fighter pilot. I'm a husband, a parent. I've got a 9-year-old who's now been promoted to the next level in his soccer team. Only kid in the class or on the team that did that. And it's because he worked hard. He was out there sweating and sacrificing. He couldn't kick the damn soccer ball a year ago, but he's put the time in and worked. And so humility and transparency, like you were talking about, Nick, and congruency is really, really important. So from that context, I don't like to be known as a motivational speaker or a fighter pilot. I'm a guy who likes to give people courage, to give people the thrust and fortitude and resilience and mindset to face their fears and take action. I don't care if it's asking for the sale, dealing with rejection, or dealing with their spouse, their partner, looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, how do I get better today? So I'm a guy that's always seeking to improve. I graduated the Air Force Academy, and afterwards I did 65 combat missions, watched my life flash before my eyes, and then decided to get out and go into the business world. I was just ready for something different. So I joined the reserve, got my MBA, had a few sales jobs. One was in defense contracting, and then I leaned to B2B merger and acquisition consulting with high-level Fortune 500 companies, commission only. And so I know what it's like to make nothing a month or two, and then 30 to 50 grand in commissions. So when we talk today about resilience and leadership and sales and preparation and communication, this isn't something that I just made up from the context of a jet. It's because it's who I am. It's what I do every day, not just in the past, but also right now as an executive coach and as a sales and leadership speaker.
That's amazing. And I love your book, Never Fly Solo, by the way. And I think that's such a valuable lesson that our viewers can take away. So I guess just in terms of the title of that book, what do you really mean by never fly solo, right? So what does that truly mean for you, not just in life, but also in business or in sales?
So if you look behind me, I've got a bunch of women here. This is me all the way from the right, the tall, good-looking guy. And then all the way to the left, that's a joke. Fighter pilot's always short and good-looking. This guy was a tall guy. That's my commander, retired two-star General Haas Hyatt. And these were my wingmen. The folks that I flew with, there's guys here, but we flew with women as well. They were just as qualified. We didn't care about your race, your sex, your background, the color of your skin. If you can fly, if you can kick ass, you're ready to go. And so I'm on the tarmac, and then a few hours after this, I was getting ready to fly one of my first combat missions. And people were getting shot at, shot down, things that didn't necessarily make the news. And I remember being a little scared, as you can imagine, wondering if I was going to get shot down, wondering if I become a prisoner of war. And I got cottonmouth, and Colonel Hyatt looks at me and says, listen, I know you're scared, but don't lose sight of me today. Follow the plan we briefed. I'll lead you to the target. He was asking me to trust him, wasn't he, guys?
Yep.
But he was also asking me the question, which is in context of the Never Fly Solo theme of my book, of my speeches, and everything I do in life. And the question didn't come out of his mouth, but it came out of his head and heart. And it's the same question I was asking him, and the same question your peers, your coworkers, your customers, and prospects ask you. And that question, which is on this screen, is, can I depend on you? Can I depend on you? That's what he was asking. Will you stay in position? Will you follow the plan? Are you prepared? Will you have my back? And so realizing that you have to be prepared for your team. My customer at the end of the day was Colonel Hyatt. He was mine as well. We were backing each other up. And all the things that we did beforehand, the preparation, the mindset, the skill set, the gym workouts that we had, our focus and attention to detail, all came down to that. And so never fly solo means you're in touch and committed and trusting of that person staring back at you when you put your flight suit on every morning and you look at yourself in the mirror. And you're also trusting the teammates that are on your wing to be prepared to communicate with you and to hit the target as well. So this is collaborative approach towards doing business and living your life every day.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's a important lesson, and especially in today's world, obviously, I think bringing that out of people is harder now than it ever was before. And the culture has changed a little bit. Your background, the position you were in, it really in some ways forced upon you to develop that culture, right? I'm assuming it was mandatory. Right now in my position, quite candidly, and it's never ending really, I have people in my organization, they want to grow, they want to develop, they want to be me, they want to be the commander in chief. And I want to do a better job of being a leader that can develop them to become that. And not only through fundamentals, but also through inspiration. What would you say to a leader listening to this that's struggling developing that culture? Where would be the best place for that leader to start?
And I'm coaching a Siemens executive right now, great dude, and he's having some challenges, but I'm trying to teach him that this is about leadership and growing them as human beings, not just as salesmen and women, right? And so first and foremost, I think it's great that they want your job. I think it's great that they have that ambition. You want that in a salesperson. When you walk into a squadron of fighter pilots, you look on the wall, the first thing that you see is Instructor Pilot of the Year, Top Gun of the Month, Wingman of the Quarter, all these wooden plaques. I've got them on my wall here, Flight Leader of the Quarter, which is my most esteemed award. It wasn't some Hayek award. It meant that folks chose me as the fighter pilot they wanted to fly with the most. And so what you're thinking of, and salespeople who are watching this, when you're walking in that door, and I'll ask Dominic and you, Nick, if you're brand new in that fighter squadron, walking in the door for the first time, getting your mission qualified, you're getting ready to fly, what are you thinking when you see those plaques? I'd like to ask you, what do you think? What's going through your head?
So I think the rub is, and Dominic and I have talked about this too, is that it's kind of an unfair question because we're somewhat unique individuals, right? When I walk in, I want to be the top of the board, and no one has to help me and motivate me to become that guy. That's how I'm wired, man. But now I'm trying to develop that in other people where maybe they're not wired that way. A lot of people say they want to be at the top of the board. Maybe that's what they want in theory, but then the reality of it kicks in. You follow me? So yeah, to answer your question, I'm going to be at the top of the board, and I'm going to be at the top of the board.
If you're watching this video or listening to this podcast, you're saying, and and that's not at your top of your mind, you're not built for sales. You are not an ace. You're not built to be a fighter pilot. You have to have ambition. We're thinking, I want to be on that wall. And if you don't want to be on that wall, turn your ass around. You do not have the culture, the commitment, and drive to be a winner.
Yeah.
As long as you do it, here's the kicker, as long as you do it with integrity, as long as you do it with honor and hard work, and don't make excuses, and have the courage to reach out for help, admit your mistakes, partner with the best in that squad, and realize that it's going to take time. You got to get your butt kicked a bunch, be humble, go through the processes of getting on that wall. You see, a lot of salespeople want the shortcuts. They say, yeah, I want to be on the wall, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, why isn't this happening? Well, show me the numbers. Show me how many hours you're studying in the safe. How much simulated time that you put in, right? How much are you working on yourself? I didn't see you in the gym, man. I see you running out of the squadron at 5 o'clock. You did an 8-hour day. That's weak.
Yeah.
So show me the actions. But here's the kicker, and it goes back to your question, Nick. You have to emulate, excuse me, you have to emulate those characteristics. As the leader, they got to see you pushing up the throttle. They have to see you asking the questions, revealing your humility, saying, I don't know, I'll find out. They have to see you studying, questioning, learning, reading. They have to see you coming in, connecting with them as human beings, not just demanding compliance and protocols and numbers, but commanding them, because you're truly connecting with them as human beings. They have to see your authenticity. You see, when you show them that you're not perfect, but then also demonstrate your acumen and humility, and they see you outside of your flight suit, perhaps at the Publix or Kroger supermarket, or how you're treating the waiter at the gym, or the waiter at the restaurant, or how you treat people that you don't know. They're testing you. They're watching you. General Patton said, you're always on parade.
Yep.
And so are you a true leader just when it comes to a sales briefing or teaching and training, or do they truly see you developing from the inside out? They're going to monitor your habits and patterns. And here's the final thing, and I'll let you guys, expand on it. You've got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey man, did I hit the gym today? What's the last sales training that I went on? Who have I asked for help? Who's coaching me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're taking the words out of my mouth, because I'm thinking right now, that's probably the first place I'm going to start. In fact, Louise, who's our controller here, he's a big son of a bitch. He works out constantly. And he just made me this nice cup of Nespresso, and he said, you've been working out, and I looked at myself like, well, why are you asking me this question? But I jokingly told him, I said, I know you're working out. I said, why don't you come knock on my door at 6:30 every morning and drag my ass out of bed, and I'll pay you to train me. I said, I need somebody probably to give me a kick in the ass.
That's why you have Grosser University.
Yeah.
That's why you both have hired coaches. You both are humble enough. You both work out, and it's a holistic approach. That's why I said before, it's not just I was a fighter pilot, not just having good hands. It's not just your skill set or even your mindset. It's your heart set, your passion, your drive, and how do you reflect that on the people that you work with? I was working out today, and my son's on YouTube, messing around with his iPad. I said, son, get your butt down here. I want you on that treadmill with me. I want to see some sweat going. Let's get some push-ups. Hey, 30 minutes in the gym with me, an hour on your iPad. I'm starting to hold him accountable. He's 9 years old. Hey, they're always going to be distracted. He wants to play Minecraft, right? But you got to put in the sweat. You have to put in the equity. And so it always starts with you. And they're going to monitor and watch that. So you have to kind of emulate those things. And a lot of it is just really just being transparent, because a lot of them may look at you they may be a little intimidated. And they have to just see you connected with them. And then also, most importantly, is you have to have the high standards and in your life, in your business protocols, with your sales team, and say, these are the standards. Can you meet these standards? Let's talk about them, because these are the protocols, the 10 to 20 rules, the fundamentals. Show up early, maximize your margins, be fully accountable, whatever they are. And make those standards high, and you have to be emulating them so much every day. And as soon as those standards are not being met in that fighter squadron of sales that you're in, you got to call people out.
Right.
And better yet, your teammates should call each other out. Hey, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the standards. Dude, you were late for the mission briefing. You called a kill of that bandit on the heads-up display, and you didn't have the pipper on. You hit bingo fuel and didn't call it out. You didn't call out the things you were supposed to do. Dude, these are the standards.
And then when do you feel like it's time? Obviously I have a lot of pride, right? And I think I've made the mistake in some cases of getting too close to these guys. I think there's a fine line between being their boss and being their friend, but it's hard for me to let go. I almost feel like I'm responsible to make everyone around me that amazing sales rep or eventually a sales manager or whatever it is. But I need to do a better job, in my opinion, of knowing when it's time to cut it. But from your view, when do you identify that? How do you go about it? Because obviously I would love to think everybody has it in them to become what you're describing and emulate that. But I think the reality is not everyone is capable or willing for whatever reason.
Yeah, and so a couple other quick things, and that's a really insightful point, Nick. Some people aren't cut out for it. Some people need this. They have the passion and the mindset, but they don't have the skill set, right? So you can teach them. And you say, here's what you need to do. Measure those goals, measure their performance, and then hold them accountable. But what's great about your team, and how many sales folks do you have working with you?
We're up over 25 reps at Matrix.
And so if you're going to do perhaps a Zoom call or a group meeting, whatever it is, I know it's a little different now, but who knows, when people are watching this video, our virus is going to be done and people will be able to meet more. But what's a great thing to do, Nick, is to highlight the top gun, the one guy or gal who's just killing it, and then let them share what they're doing to win. Let them be the spokesperson of excellence and lift them up and kind of puff their feathers up and say, hey, I'd like you to do the briefing. I'd like you to share, what are your 3 steps of making you a success for your day? And it doesn't have to do with business. What is it that allows you to be a success story? You had the highest numbers this month or the last 3 months. What are the 3 things that you do and don't do? Mm-hmm. And share that with them. Let them reflect on each other. And then the person that's the last in the class, so to speak, the one that's kind of lagging behind the fight and not getting the pipper on and messing up, they're going to go, what do I need to do? And then challenge them to coach each other.
Yep, that's a very good point. And the advantage of the home improvement industry, unlike like car sales where you may be fighting other salespeople for clients, is these salespeople don't fight anybody else for their customer. So one thing that I always encourage to instill that culture, that open book culture, right, where we're helping each other grow, is just like you said, you take the top guys that are doing it every single day, that are proving it every day, right, those top guns, and you have them come up front and share all the little tricks of the trade, their little golden nuggets, every possible thing that they're doing to be successful in the home. Because one thing, you talk about humility, right? I'll go out in front of any sales team right now and say, guys, I'd hate to break the bad news to you. I'm not as good of a salesperson as some of the people in this room. And what I mean by that is I don't pretend to know all the answers. But here's what I do know is all of us as a team can come up with far more information and far more strategy than I could ever do by myself. So I'm going to teach you everything I know to be successful. And with your help, we can literally create this thing to be completely bulletproof and help each other grow to create the all-star team that's literally unstoppable. And having that instilled in your culture, I think, is key that you talk about. And I love a lot of the stuff from your book. You talk about, attitude does not necessarily determine altitude. You got to have action. You have to take action. Yeah. And we talk about that. There's an ocean between knowing what to do and actually executing it, actually doing it, right? And one thing you also say that I'm a huge fan of is working smarter, not harder, right? Everyone always talks about that. Well, we find that's just an excuse to be lazy and procrastinate, right? So working smarter or working harder is the smart thing to do.
Well, I feel like a broken record. I've been telling some of these guys, maybe it's not the right approach, but, getting back to what they want and what they envision their value being, and these, it's almost like I can't grab at something tangible. It's just they feel a certain way, and what I keep telling them is, listen, talking about what you're going to do, identifying what you might be capable of is totally different from actually doing it. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, all that really matters is what you do. That's a hard thing, I think, to get people to understand and embrace, is that with absent of the execution, all the other stuff is for naught. Sometimes people, they spend so much time strategizing, planning, talking about what they're going to do, They never spend enough time actually doing it, and it never goes anywhere. And I feel like that's a syndrome, quite honestly, that exists now more than ever. I don't know why, if it's because of technology or all this stuff, but I feel like everybody, even in our Grasso world, even with some of the companies we work with from a sponsorship level, quite candidly, I see that. And the bigger the company, the worse it seems to be. You know what I mean? Like the bureaucracy that it takes for them to actually execute is almost disgusting, right? It's like they're tripping over, they're in their own way. So how do you're the guy. I mean, that's why I'm so excited for this partnership, because I think bringing this to our audience, say, hey, look, here's an expert to help you break through that mold, to get you thinking more about execution. What do you think it takes to inspire that? In my opinion, personally, from what I've experienced, failure has been a really important prerequisite to my success. So sometimes when people are telling me, Nick, I'm leaving Matrix, I want to go start my own thing, I want to be a millionaire, and I feel like I'm ready, my comment to that typically is, well, you probably will succeed, but I think candidly, you first need to fail. Okay, so just go out expecting that to happen and be ready for it. And then when you get back up again, then you can be me. Okay, but sometimes unless you've failed miserably, I feel like you're completely unprepared for what it truly takes to be that top gun. How would you respond to that?
It's very insightful and it's spot on. Like I said, you always have to earn these wings. By the way, 33% of the folks who go through any of the training, from the Air Force Academy to pilot training to F-16 training, 33% wash out, right? And you gotta earn those wings every day. And that's why they're on Velcro, by the way.
Yeah, you could rip them right off.
So, but the ones, and this is like, because I remember my buddy Kaz, they called him Riddler. His last name is Kosciuszko, but his call sign was initially Riddler because he asked so many questions. He was driving everybody crazy, always coming in with all these questions because he was studying the night before in the simulator practicing. He's like, I got these questions. And so he eventually became the best guy in the fighter squad. Absolutely kick butt. There's a chapter in my book when I talk about losing sight of him in combat. Robert Dale Kosciuszko, by the way, he's an emergency room doctor in Columbia Hospital in South Carolina right now. Went to Johns Hopkins, kind of like me. He left the military after killing it, and then wanted to kill it in some other niche, and went to become a doctor. And so the questions, the humility, just constantly working on yourself to get better, and just realizing I got to fail forward. We've got scars and PTSD.
Fail forward.
We have PTSD, post-traumatic sales disorder, right? Show me anybody, show me the scars. That's one of the questions you should ask any of your salespeople. Show me where you failed. How did you bounce back? You got your butt knocked out, you failed out of this or that, so-and-so beat you for first trumpet in high school, or you lost that place on the baseball team because the other guy was smarter, faster. What did you do to learn from it? How did you bounce back? Did you get in the books? Show me your scars. And those scars of character, that's where salespeople learn. You've got to be hung up on, embarrassed, abused. Look at your numbers and say, oh my God, I got to borrow money to pay my freaking bills. And if you're serious, then say, what do I need to do? So asking for help, taking off your mask and finding the coaches. But what's great about today is that you could just go to YouTube or go to podcasts like this, join Grasso University, get coaching. A lot of different things are available to you. So read the books, attend the seminars, and finally find others who failed and have them share what they did to come back. Spend time with other top guns who can share their stories, who can emulate that in your life. This is another thing about never flying solo, and the people you hang out with on the weekends and after your flight suit's off. Who are they? What are they kicking butt in certain areas? Are they lifting you up, emulating excellence and the principles of success? Or are they dragging you down?
Yep.
Would you rather have a six-pack of beer and eat Doritos and watch football games, play Minecraft all day or Words with Friends? It's okay, but you got to just look at yourself holistically once again and be around those folks and then show me the schedule.
What's funny is
you're not hitting the numbers. Hey, you tell me what you do as soon as you get up in the morning. Show me what you're doing, and I'll show you what your attitude most likely is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people you surround yourself with, in my opinion, is uber critical. I'm from Flint, Michigan. So if you're familiar with Flint, Michigan, I mean, that's like one of the most depressed cities in America. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. Dominic and I have been asked to do more like selfie videos and more impromptu stuff for social media. And I couldn't get the nerve to do it. I was going to do a video about this very subject, though, which is, I can do it now, I suppose, which is, if I didn't have the great group of friends around me when I was growing up as a kid in Flint, Michigan, I wouldn't be who I am right now, because there were so many other paths I could have taken. My dad moved out when I was 15 years old. He moved to New York. I lived with my grandma. I got myself up for school. I made my own breakfast. I got myself to school. I actually had a higher GPA after he left than beforehand. Something inside of me clicked. But quite frankly, it was the good friends I had around me. It was being in athletics. It was associating with the right people. And that was such an important thing. And I think that's an overlooked thing that's not talked about enough, is who are you surrounding yourself with? Because that's what's molding you at the end of the day, right? I mean, that's really the thing that's going to mold you. So it could be good or it could be bad, right? But I think it's so critical to people who are listening digest this part of the talk, because sometimes it is just those people who are around you. Are they cancerous? Are they poisoning you? Or are they uplifting you? And we talk about parking lot meetings, how we have a zero tolerance policy here for parking lot meetings. We have a zero tolerance policy for complaining about the quality of the leads we assign you. Like you say, making excuses. And that's a difficult culture to forge, and especially in today's world, where unfortunately I feel like the culture of the world today is a lot softer than it once was. Yeah. But, that's why we love your edge, and your background, because again, authenticity, you don't have to try, just like I don't have to have these conversations, because that's how we were programmed.
Exactly right. It's in our DNA, and we are programming ourselves every single day. So that's the thing. It's like, show me what you did. I'll show you. Yeah, I hit the gym, had a green smoothie, right? I got on and was connected with my buddies. I'm doing some work. I was on the phone yesterday with another speaker who needed help. I showed her all my setup here, right? I said, I had other people help me, and I'm like, I'm paying it forward. So you got to take with honor. Take. Ask with honor. And that means you're doing it with honor because you're giving it away. You're helping other people out.
Yeah, I always tell my sales force on this topic, it's a very simple question to ask. Is the person that I am associating with most of the time, is that who I ultimately want to be long term? Is that the person I want to become myself, right? So I'm not thinking like today, I'm thinking long term down the road, the people I'm hanging out with. Like, look at how successful they are. Look at what their vision is for their life. Who are they currently? Like, what's their income level? What's their status? How do they treat people? You talk about pay attention to how they talk to the waiters and the waitresses. Are they uplifting, or are they bogging me down, right? And on this topic, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about, because your life it's mind-blowing to me, because we talk about overcoming fear, right? And I think that's a big hindrance for people to even take action, right? Is the fear of failure. And your whole life is just crazy, because you talk about the fears you had to face, right? It doesn't even make sense that you're a fighter pilot. I guess one thing I want you to share with our audience is, what were some of those big fears that could have potentially held you back, and more than likely held most people back for pursuing your dreams? And what do you feel was your driving force for pushing through those fears and ultimately achieving your dream of flying the F-16?
For folks that don't know, I suffered with a massive fear of heights growing up. My dad, took me to the airport when I was a kid, and I got really into the planes. He was a mechanic, totally blue collar, and I made a commitment after smelling that jet fuel and sitting in the cockpit that I wanted to fly. I told my dad I wanted to fly. He's like, listen, son, you're afraid of heights. Probably not the best career choice for you.
30,000 feet up, yeah.
But I knew my passion for flying that, whatever it was, there was something inside me that said, I got to get airborne. What do I need to do? So I applied for the Air Force Academy. I learned about the military, and long story short, I was fortunate enough to do well in school, graduated at the top of my class, got accepted to the academy, which would almost guarantee your chances of getting in. You see, you open doors throughout your whole life, and it's not like, I had to do well in school. I had to do well in sports in order to get into the academy. I had to do well there in order to get into pilot training. I had to kick butt there in order to get the F-16 and get my wings. So if you're struggling right now, everything counts. If I'm talking to a 25-year-old young man or woman who's like, worried and struggling, I'm like, okay, today is the first day of the rest of your life, as we heard. You can struggle. You've got an opportunity. Don't worry about, it's not an instant wings on your chest. You've got to go through those sacrifices, but there will be headwinds along the way. There will be a missile launch, so to speak. And so for me, I'm at the Air Force Academy. freshman year, I show up to swim class and there's this 33 feet high diving board staring me. And I looked at the instructor. I said, "Sir, do I have to jump off that? I'm panicked." And he said, "You do. You don't even graduate the academy and have any chance of being a pilot unless you jump off that diving board with a 35-pound pack on your back."
That's even, oh, geez.
Right? And so, that wasn't in the brochure, right? No one told me. I probably would have wussed out. Who knows? So for the next couple of months before we had to do the actual jump, I'm thinking, just like you can imagine, like, oh, I got to jump off this diving board. I got to face my fear. And I got to make that cold call. I got to go in and deal with this rejection. I got to go tell my wife or spouse that I didn't hit my numbers today. Or, hey, guess what? I got the proverbial gold watch. We're going to Cancun. Or I hit my numbers. I'm getting a promotion. Show me the work. You got to face those fears. So I jumped, faced my fear. And the analogy is, you have 33 feet high diving board jumps you got to take every day. And you've got to think what's on the opposite side of that fear. What is pushing you? And your commitment, your drive, your passion is only really tested when those fears come, when the fun stops. So that was my first hurdle that got me thinking, I can break through this. I graduated the academy and then became an instructor pilot. Long story short, things were going great for me. I was an instructor first and then flew the F-16 after that 4-year tour. But 3 years into my flying career, guys, I almost died in a scuba diving accident. First time I'd ever been. And suffered a massive panic attack 35 feet under the water. It was the worst experience of my life. And 3 days later, I'm back in the cockpit flying a training mission. The weather wasn't good. The sun wasn't there. I was like socked into the weather, like the clouds, thunderstorms, lightning. I was just totally enveloped in the clouds. And I started to have the same panic attack that I had just a few days prior, but instead of being 35 feet under the water, now it was 35,000 feet in the air. And realizing that flash of panic that I had claustrophobia, I'm like, I got to get the heck out of this. And probably isn't a good thing for a pilot to have. So essentially, folks, for the next 8 years of my 11-year flying career, every mission I flew, be it in combat or training, I had to face this fear, this anxiety, and it would rear its ugly head on the times I didn't know. It would just come out of nowhere, and I'd have these panic attacks, and I had to break through them and face my fear and still stay in that cockpit and embellish the passion of being a pilot, and then truly focusing on my team. And what really helped me through was just getting out of my head and focusing on those men and women who needed me in combat, having their back, helping them fly, helping them, dodge the missiles. And sometimes the biggest thing that we need to do when you're facing a fear or a struggle or an obstacle, you just got to put yourself into the shoes of your teammate, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. What are their fears? How do you truly help them? And when you distract yourself from yourself and you serve, you realize that excellence is a byproduct of service. And the best salespeople, the ones who shut their damn mouth and ask the damn questions, smile and connect and say, I don't know, and I'll find out someone for you. The ones who refer their buddies, their co-workers, or their competitors for that homeowner or for the insurance person, whoever it is, those are the ones that win. And that's why, once again, never fly solo, because as long as I was focused on them and knew that they had my back, I was flying with you guys in a sales mission, we're briefing up together. Hey, man, I'm not fearful, but I'm a lot more courageous because I know Nick and Dominic are going to have an answer if I don't. And we're flying together, man. So sales teams know who to go to create that insight, to help you deal with that potential obstacle or that panic attack or that claustrophobic fit that you may have. That also builds more resilience in your life. And the more you're used to that pain and struggle, the more you're like, I've been there before, man. I've had these panic attacks. I'm going into the biggest $10 million meeting of my life, man. There's a lot at stake, but man, I've been here before. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is that go through these struggles. Be the example of character and breaking through. And Nick and Dominic, both of you guys, that's another thing that you can share with the team. Share your struggles and how you defeated them. Let them see that you're afraid, but that you're taking action despite it. And the more you're used to that environment, the more you're used to the high stakes, pressure filled game of flying sales combat missions, the more you'll be more confident and competent and courageous to say, I could do this, man. And that's what resilience is all about, especially when you're flying in dangerous areas, in particular when there's a precarious economy that we're all in right now.
You know, what can you do what kind of almost tricks could you play on yourself in your own mind to create that desire factor like you might have if your kids are down there drowning, for example? Like for me, it was my failure, right?
Right.
But not everyone, like I openly tell people, like I told you earlier, you know, you may have to fail and fail miserably and lose everything you have before you're truly going to get to the point where you're going to be as successful as you want to be. Right. But the reality is most people, you know, they're not going to get to experience that. I look at it like a positive. I was lucky that at a young age, I was able to experience this. I started a business at a young age with my brother, Nathan, who you know, we failed miserably and it sucked at the time. But when I look back at it, I'm like, holy shit, that was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me. Because if I hadn't failed like that, I wouldn't be nearly as motivated as I am. So that's my why. You know, that's in the back of my mind all the time. But the thing is, when we look at the soft world we're in right now, I hate to say it, and we bring people in who've never experienced that before, I think what he's trying to ask is how do we rewire them to think like I do, having not had that failure, you know what I'm saying? And then make it so that they're not fearful to do what's necessary. You know, I'm not fearful because I know what it's like to lose everything I have. I know what it feels like. And I'm not really all that worried about it if it happened to me again, quite candidly. I actually love tests now. I jokingly tell my sales reps, we can take all the leads that we're about to issue today, shuffle them around like a deck of playing cards. You can hand me whatever two you want to hand me, and I'll run them with more enthusiasm than if I get to choose the best one on paper. I am so good at selling stuff, I get bored walking into stuff that's too easy. I want challenge. I giggle in the back of my mind. I'm like, give me every ounce of resistance, customer. Make it hard on me because otherwise this is boring. It's flat out boring.
Right.
But I'm a maniac. How do we get other people, you know, to think that way? How do we get them to get into that mode?
Spot on. You know, you don't want all the Glengarry leads, right?
No.
Real leads. The ones that you got to work for. And anything tastes better when you worked for it, when you struggled for it. And that's why the snowflake generation, which you're getting at, they're not used to putting themselves in those precarious situations. They're not pushed. They wake up every day, everything's given to them, right? And so the gift of the struggle, you know, the character and that mindset, that's why you got to go deep. It's not to say that you can't still be a winner if you've got the skills and the mindset, haven't struggled that much, but it pushes you even more because at the end of the day, you got to find what I call the why before you fly.
Yeah.
You know, the meaning to the mission. Before I strapped into those jets, I'm like, holy shit, I'm flying an 8-hour night combat mission. The weather sucks. I don't want to have to do this. I'm like, oh my God. And so use a couple things. Number one, you got to be that coach. Somebody up there is dependent on you. Who needs you to win? Your spouse, your kids, the customer. What's your future? You want the dream home? Do you want the job? Like, what is that compelling driving force, that next level? And you got to stay visual with it, right? And so find out what it is. And sometimes it's a hard thing, especially when you're successful, to re-gauge what that is, that next level is for you. And all of us over here are successful. Many of the folks watching and listening to this, very successful. You go, man, I could probably retire tomorrow. What's driving me? And that's why this pandemic that we're in, the challenges that we're in, forces us to think like, why am I doing this? What is it that drives me? Let me tell you what drove me. The fact that I didn't want to have to look back on my life as a father, because I was single at the time going through all this, and I have to tell my son, who's now 9 years old with his wing mom upstairs, hey, guess what? Your dad had a dream, a passion to fly jets. And as soon as things got tough, he quit. Don't do as your dad does, son. Face your fear. I want to be able to tell him, let me tell you, son, and he's learning it slowly and surely. Your dad struggled. He suffered, but he got his ass back in that cockpit and he pushed up the throttle. And I had the credibility in my voice and in my passion and my actions. I went through that struggle. I faced my fear. I had missiles launched on me. I didn't quit like some of the other guys did. Some folks came back. I've had these wings in my hand after some of the missions saying, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. I quit. And by the time I walked back in there, they slowly came on that chest. I said, one more day, one more day. I don't want to look back on my life with regret. That's the killer. That's what will sap you of your manhood or womanhood. Regret, looking back and say, shit, I could have done it. You got one shot. Who are you? That's the thing you got to ask yourself. Who do you want to serve? Do you want to tell your kids, your best friend, your mom and dad, your grandfather, maybe suffering in the hospital right now and say, Granddad, I did it. I struggled. What stories are you going to tell them? And what stories are you telling yourself to look in yourself in the mirror and say, I trust that person staring back at me when I put my flight suit on. I'm going for it. That's the difference between a squadron of peak performers, of fighter pilots and aces and average people. That's why you're trying to instill those in those guys, Nick.
No, I love what you're saying. I mean, I think you gave me an answer, and I needed to hear that, and I think what you're saying is going to help me a lot. Because what you're saying, I think, would resonate and would help motivate the team to simply, hey, you may never fail like I did. You may never have that type of motivation, and that's a painful process. But like you say, you're going to have to look back at some point in life on your life. And everyone eventually their life is unfortunately going to come to an end, right? That's inevitable. And do you want to look back and say that you half-assed it and that you didn't accomplish your goals and you didn't set the right example for your children if you're lucky enough to have a family? I'm going to use that angle in a positive way because I feel like that really should, if that doesn't inspire somebody, then I think that's maybe where we can identify perhaps they're not the best person for the position. But for most people, that should inspire them.
That's what I've noticed too. Like we talk about the three of us, right? What makes us more unique than the average bear? And I think it's having that vision, that burning desire for that vision long term for your life. Because you go up to the average person and you're like, hey, Nick, who are you? Who do you want to become, right? What's your purpose in life? What's your long term vision for yourself? What legacy are you leaving behind in this world, right? What are people going to say about you when you leave? Your kids, your friends, your coworkers, right? So again, what legacy you leave behind? Most people have no idea what their vision is. I even have my sales team put together vision boards and a lot of people laugh at me, right? But guess what? The people that did it, guess what happened?
They got
what was on the freaking vision board, right? So just understanding what is my true purpose in life and why, like you said, the why before you fly, that's such an amazing message there. I think more people, it's just, these little things make all the difference. That's one line that we have at Grossi University. The little things don't make the little difference. They make all the difference.
And it's well put. It's just, and sometimes when you're in that humbling zone of failure, you got to take some time and say, okay, let me reflect. It's painful. I was saying pain leads to peace. Right? When you guys like working out, when you're in the gym and you're like sweating, struggling, you're about to pass out, like, oh my God, this is painful, and you go through the struggle. And then suddenly, man, after the workout, you're like, you guys know that high, right? The high you get when you're like, oh, I did it. Not because not because you suddenly lost the weight, because some of us are struggling, not because you picked up the phone and got hung up on or rejected and didn't quit and made your commitment of 20 cold calls or bold calls, by the way. You should have a cold call. It's only bold topic of another discussion. Not just because of that, because you realize that it's peaceful because you did the work. We have a saying in the Air Force, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in battle.
Yep.
What are you doing to sweat? To sweat. And when you go through that pain, that feeling that comes of you, and that kind of emanates, and that your prospects will hear that from you. They will sense there's something about this guy or gal. Why is he so confident? What is it about his inflection in his voice where he's compelling? You guys see, I'm walking in and out of here. This is very important because I believe it. Just like we could talk about this all day long because we believe in it, but notice the energy that's coming through the camera, that's going through my voice. This is how you sell and influence.
Yeah.
Because you got a damn good PowerPoint for that matter, or because you went through your checklist of questions, not because you have a great product. It's because you have this sense of confidence and people connect. They smell BS more than ever. they sense authenticity and truth, and you may not have an answer. It's just something that emanates from you, but you got to look at your work, just like we talked about. So show me your actions. So anyway, it's a difficult thing. If we all have the answers, man, and we all know we got to earn our wings too, man. We're kicking butt maybe today, but tomorrow something's just going to slam down in our life that may humble us quickly. For us right now, it's the pandemic, right? Everybody's economically challenged in some way or another. If it's not you, it's your family member or your best friend. And so now it's humbling us to really go deeper and put our jet in the hangar and say, how do we retool ourselves to get better and drive ourselves and drive our personal development and growth and our future goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the takeaway I've had from today's talk, and this has been great. I mean, like I keep saying, and I'm genuine when I say this, I mean, this was good for me to be able to have this talk with you today. And I'm looking forward to having more of these talks and digging deeper into your content, because I need a coach too. Dominic we all need a coach. We all need someone to motivate us. And I think the takeaways I got here is conditioning really is what we're talking about, right? You have to condition yourself to be a great leader, to be a great person, to be a great salesperson. The conditioning really is the foundation for becoming successful, right? And who you surround yourself with and what your motivational factors look like. And I think if people can keep that at the top of their mind and invest time every day, people should take more time out to, invest some time into retooling their mind every single day. And, that's what we want to provide people, through your content, through our platform. Hopefully we can get to that place, but it seems like we're getting a lot closer to where we're going to be able to merge some of that great content. We're looking forward to having you at our event in March. We're really fired up. We truly believe in you as that person that we want to position as the leadership, visionary, go-getter, motivator. I think that you have a great story and you have the right mindset to help us accomplish our goals. So we're fired up, man.
And Waldo, I want to put you on the spot here. Obviously, one thing that you have talked to me about in our numerous conversations together is you're very selective on the people you choose to partner up with and the people you trust to be your wingmen, right? And ultimately, if you're going to trust us to look at your blind spot, right, check your six and be your wingman as Gross University, I guess, why do you feel Gross University has earned that right to be your wingman and, potentially proceed in a long-term partnership together? I guess, what do you see in us and, how it relates to you and your vision for your future, kind of the long-term partnership together as wingmen for each other?
So it goes back to when we first met, when you called me on the phone, Dominic, and we had a conversation, and I always have an intelligence brief where I learn about your protocols, your competition, your sales issues and objections and objectives. And so I was watching you and learning from you, okay? And then also with Nick here, it's also the fact that you guys didn't approach this with the answers.
Yeah.
You guys marinated the steak of the relationship, just like you have to marinate the steak of the sale. It's got to bake in. You got to make sure it's just right. The seasoning, if it's not right, guess what? You don't want to put it in the oven. I'll throw it out, man. Spot that, marinate a new piece of steak. And so the fact that you came open as an open vessel, realizing, hey, this is the part we got to take baby steps to figure out how we can fly together is very, very important for me. And so I don't feel pushed by you guys. I feel that relationships are important. And, it's very important who you decide to be your wingman. And that's a very, very tough choice. I'm sharing this with the people that are listening and watching this. You got to choose your wingman very carefully. And I'll leave you with this. There's a saying I made up a couple of years back. Make your friends your mentors and your mentors your friends. I look at you guys as friends and mentors, as somebody that can help me grow and that are going to be open and receptive to giving and listening to my insights. And I'm sure we're going to lift each other up, and most importantly, lift up those folks who are investing in Gross University and my Wingman ACE program to make a better life for themselves, not just a better sale, and hopefully make them better human beings to go out and conquer whatever missions and shoot down the enemy and live a dream of purpose and love. So that's what's important to me, and I think it's important to you guys.
And I love it. And one thing I want you to leave people with too is the push it up mentality moving forward, getting our viewers to push it up in life. I guess explain what that means and moving forward, why we need to execute that every day.
So ultimately, when we flew in battle, we yell out, push it up. One of my squadrons, it was our call to action. And push it up means when you're in the jet, you push up that throttle and you fully commit. You've crossed the forward edge of the battle area. You're entering the danger zone. There's no turning back. You're full power. Afterburners on. Master arms hot. Missiles are live and ready to go. You are in, no aborting. And that's what push it up means every single day when you look at yourself in the mirror and you hear the cleared for takeoff call from your team and your clients say, I'm signing on this contract for you. I need help. I'm delivering a check to you, a blessing to you. Please give me the value that you promised. That's your call to action to push it up and go all in. There will be objections. There will be missiles. There will be fears and obstacles. But you keep driving forward because that's what aces do. That's what Top Guns do. And that's what leaders do.
And I love that because if you read our Bible of in-home selling, actually right in the beginning, I use the analogy of an airplane trying to take flight off a jetway, right? If you don't go 100% full throttle, you're going to crash at the end of the runway and you're never going to meet your full potential. You're never going to get to what I call cruising altitude, right? You have that push-up mentality, go full throttle, and you get to cruising altitude. Now the good news, you can put the autopilot on, especially if you master our methodology, and fly at 500 miles an hour, and you don't have to think anymore because you know what you're supposed to do, and now you're just in execution mode, right? And that's what some of the top guns are doing in our business. Literally, you can go into a house, cruise control, autopilot, walk out with a sale every single time because they put in the blood, sweat, and tears in the beginning, right? You talked about the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in battle. You have to be willing to do that 110%, right? Full throttle, push it up. And I love that. I love that mentality.
Yeah, well, remember, if you throttle back and the engine's off, even if you're at altitude, it's going to start descending. And you descend when you don't have power. So the power, the thrust, keeping you airborne is that passion, is that drive, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. That's the heart set that's in there.
Yeah.
That's keeping it going, keeping that jet level. And that's what needs to be constantly refined and upgraded because it's not easy to keep a jet airborne at cruising altitude. You got a lot of fuel you're burning.
Yep.
That engine's got to be cooking.
Yeah, when you're ripe, you rot, right?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm excited. I think you nailed it on the head when you talked about, the marinating of this relationship, the ingredients that we're putting together here through the Grasso University. I mean, really, for those listening who maybe aren't as familiar with Grasso, we would love you to be more familiar. But the reality is our program really isn't just about Grasso. Our goal is to bring together all those key ingredients that we truly believe are necessary to provide you with the value and the guidance you need to become, at the true height of your potential. And that's you're a key ingredient, in my opinion. The motivation, like I said at the beginning of this talk today, is without the motivation, without the right conditioning, without the right mindset, without the right disciplines, all of our methodologies and everything else is for naught. But with all the motivation and all the disciplines, without the methodology, you also may be met with some challenge. So I think putting what we're doing here together is going to be a beautiful relationship. And I hope those who are listening are anxious to tune in. We do want to invite everyone who's listening to explore our explore our platform and our event that we're going to be doing here in March. So we really appreciate Waldo you joining us. This was really good for me. Like I keep saying, I mean, I'm motivated right now. I'm ready to get out of this studio and get to work after talking to you. And I hope those who are listening right now feel that same way.
I am too. This was great. When you always know it's a great phone call when you hang up and you're ready to go to just take the hill, right? Ready to take off and fly. And that's once again, that's a gauge of the type of people you hang out with. But they're sapping you your energy, not a good thing. But I love today, guys. By the way, if people want to Google me, Waldo Waldman, or I'm all over social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Waldo Waldman. If that's a great way to stay in touch. And my website, yourwingman.com, if they want learn a little bit more about me as well.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to experience the man, the myth, the legend on stage, and I can say this open and honestly, I've seen a lot of public speakers. Waldo is the best I've ever seen live in person. The guy's a true master, and he'll get you chewing through walls to go out there and run your next lead. We are excited. He's going to be at our event coming up spring 2021, so stay tuned for those exact dates and locations. And I can't thank you enough, Waldo. Love you to death, and I'm excited for the future ahead.
You guys are great people, and I'm excited to fly with you as well. Godspeed, and keep pushing it out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Waldo. Thanks a lot. This was great.
Yeah, and yes, you are a closer.